Okay, we're going to review what we did last session. Last session we began Siman Rei Sadi. Torah opened up the Siman, and the Siman really discusses a few different topics. Number one, topic of trying to get 100 brachas, which we're going to delve into more. Halach and Siman Mem Vav based on the Gemara Menachos Mem Gimel. We should be reciting 100 brachas every single day. So this is harder to do on Shabbos. So the Torah recommends having more food. Now we have to discuss that more. That requires more of an elaboration. But that means food. Overeating, unnecessary brachas. Topic 2 is discussing sleeping. Torah at the end of Sif Aleph over here says, Imrogil, if you're regular, Vishnasa Arayim, we're just going to review it because we had a weekend in between. We haven't met in a few days. Monday, so we missed Sunday, Shabbos. Haven't met in a few days. If you're regular to sleep in the afternoon, don't nullify that sleep, don't cancel it. You should sleep because it's an oneg, it's a pleasure. It's implied from the Torah that you're regular to sleep in the afternoon every single day. Then you're allowed to sleep. Shabbos afternoon, we'll come back to that. Then the third topic is learning on Shabbos. The Torah clearly says, I'd like to emphasize this, Achar Hashena. After this nap that you take, that's when you should learn. Koiv and Medrash, that's when they would learn. Because the Torah quotes the Medrash. It doesn't quote where it is. It's actually a whole discussion, where is this Medrash? But the Torah said, who's going to learn me? When we go into Israel, when we're in the desert for 40 years, they didn't need to worry about anything. They had food from the man, they had water from the Beer Shal Miriam, their clothing grew with them, etc. They didn't need to worry about anything. Now they're going to go into Israel. This one's going to be all involved with his farm, this one with his vineyard, this one with his orchard, this one with his real estate, this one with his nursing home, this one with his lawyer, with his accounting, with his medical. They're all going to be involved with their jobs. When are they going to learn me? So Hashem responded, don't worry, Shabbos. No one's allowed to work on Shabbos. They're going to learn you then. So this is an obvious open rebuke for anyone who doesn't learn for more than several hours on Shabbos. Everyone has time on Shabbos. There's no excuse. Furthermore, someone who doesn't learn on Shabbos shows that if he had extra time during the week, he probably wouldn't be learning anyways. So now he's going to get punished for not learning during the week also. However, someone who does learn shows that he really wants to utilize any free moment that he has. It's just that he has to work, that he can't learn. So therefore, he'll get credit even when he works as if he's learning during the week. Because he's showing that's what he does. That's how he utilizes free time as opposed to wasting it by watching sports, politics, whatever time-wasting activities he's involved with. Beis Yosef quotes the Medrash Tanchuma, who says that there's no parsha that it says Vayakel in the beginning. It talks about gathering. Parsha Vayakel is unique. It talks about that everyone was gathered over here. Why? So Hashem says, make groups. Gather on Shabbos. Gather together. Gather to what? To schmooze in the hallway? No, 100% not. You're not supposed to gather to schmooze in the hallway of shul. You're not supposed to gather for a kiddush. You're supposed to gather to learn Torah. The point of gathering together is for learning Torah. It's a concept for sure of davening together, but this is for learning Torah. That's what the Medrash Tanchum explains what this gathering alludes to for future generations. Another explanation is Hashem tells the Jews, if you're going to gather every single week in shul and in the base medrash, the koydrim b'Torah, you're going to lean from the Torah, you're going to read from the Torah b'Neviim. You're going to have to come back more to Haftarah. If you're gonna read from the Navi, I consider it as if you made me king. So from over here, the Beis Yosef concludes, after quoting this Medrash Tanchuma, because this is all the Medrash Tanchuma over here, and he says this is where it comes from for gathering together in shuls, reading from the Torah, and giving the drasha and agada. This is where it comes from, giving the drasha and agada. Now notice what the Beis Yosef over here says. Acher Suda Shachris. When do you do the drasha? According to the Beis Yosef, the drasha is after Shachris.
So how do we flip it?
And we'll have to come back to that. The simple reason why it should be after Shachris is because you're going to have a half hour, 45-minute nice drasha. So now people are hungry. Because we know from Simon Peites, the Gemara and Brachos, you're not allowed to eat before you daven. That's the general halacha. And therefore, people are going to be hungry. Yeah, you have to have Heinig Shabbos. So therefore, they would have the drasha after the Suda. You see something interesting? The question is the Torah referring to a drasha over here? Achar hashena koivin medrash. After you sleep, that's when you learn. It's talking about someone who's regular to sleep. Beis Yosef comes along and says that no. It's after your meal, your Suda. Yeah, exactly. That's one interesting point from this Beis Yosef. Second interesting point is the Beis Yosef clearly says the drasha is going to be b'divrei agada. Musar stories, lessons, not halacha. The Bach, however, as we learned, strongly opposes this idea. The Bach has some length over here, and he says the drasha has to be primarily about halacha. You have to know what to do on Shabbos. To know what to do. Every Yom Tov, you have to, the rabbi has to get up and teach the halachas that are applicable, that everyone needs to know the basic halachas. The Bach then proceeds to quote a Gemara in Sota Daf Mem as a proof. The Gemara over there relates that Rabbi Avohu gave a shir, a drasha, in Agarata. Unlike Rabbi Chia bar Abba, who gave his drasha, his shir, and halacha. If you look up that Gemara, you'll notice something that is very interesting, which is the concept of discussing. Rabbi Avohu was explaining to Rabbi Chia in a kind way why less people were showing up to his shir on halacha. And he relates an analogy. You can look up that Gemara and see it. The Bach offers his own explanation of that Gemara, a deeper explanation, saying that Rabbi Chia was upset, not the small amount of people that were coming to his drasha, but that Rabbi Avohu was giving a shir on Agarata. Wasn't that Rabbi Avohu wasn't teaching halacha, because you're supposed to teach halacha. That's the Bach's explanation. It's the Bach's explanation of this Gemara. And therefore, the Bach says that all these places where the custom apparently developed to give a shir on Agarito and not halacha, this is against the Torah. Neged das Torah seina. Yeah, because the main drasha, the ikar hadrasha, the main drasha needs to be halacha to let people know what to do. If you want, you could throw in some musar. Like over here, when we primarily learn halacha, but we certainly learn musar. But the main content that we do over here, even with all of our digressions and all the things that we do, halacha. This is talking about on Shabbos. The main thing people have to know is halacha, what to do. I always like saying, if a person doesn't learn halacha properly, the guy's a walking isser. Everything the guy's doing could be wrong. He thinks he's doing the right thing, but he's partially doing the wrong thing.
I think we say that about, well, who says that about Shabbos? If you don't learn halacha on Shabbos.
Yeah, it's in
What's
the
that?
Hagdamah, the Chilek Gimel a little bit. Point is, it's gotta be halacha, and then he throws in also the drasha should have something inspiring, some sort of musr that brings people to fear Hashem and prevent them from sinning. Because a guy can learn all the halacha in the world, but if the guy just doesn't care, he's going to be sinning. He's not going to apply anything that he learned. Anything that he learned. In fact, it'll be worse because now he's willingly violating the halacha. So you got to have musr also. And he says that the drasha, the rabbi at the Talmud Chacham, shouldn't just get up there and try to show everyone his vast and deep knowledge. It's not for that. It's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to give it to inspire people, teach people halacha. That's what he should do. That's the Bach. This is Chazara of the Torah, which we learned last session, with some additional points, such as the one on the Bach and some emphasis on the Beis Yosef. The Shulchan Aruch adds, regarding the first of three topics of this short siman, you got to get 100 brachos. How could you do that? He adds in, not just through eating items, but through smelling items. Smelling items that require a bracha, you could say a bracha on them. The Ramah quotes, if you're regular to sleep, then you could sleep on Shabbos. This is implied that you do it on a regularly basis. The Ramah, at the end of Siv Beis, regarding the third topic of the siman learning, says people who are working the whole week, balabatim, halalim, they're not learning Torah properly the whole week. It's pointed out, of course they're learning, because if they weren't learning, they'd be violating their obligation to set aside time to learn Torah every single day, to be koiveya itim. For sure they're learning. But quantitatively, how long are they learning? For a person to really steig, to grow through learning Torah HaKadosh, to get closer to the Torah HaKadosh and closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that requires sitting down, buckling down, not eating, not getting distracted with electronics, not getting distracted with other people trying to get our attention. We sit down, we buckle down, and we learn uninterrupted. That type of learning for an hour or more. Granted, you could get a lot done in less than an hour, but we're talking about you sitting down for over an hour and a half, talking some serious learning. You have a session, 2 hours, it's meaningful. So the Balabatim who aren't learning during the week, they need to learn more than the yeshiva guys and the kollel guys. They need to learn more than the Talmidei Chachamim on Shabbos. Because the Talmidei Chachamim, the kollel guys, the Bachurim in yeshiva, the yeshiva guys, they get the geshmak from learning. They enjoy their learning during the week. They have that oneg. They could take it a little easier on Shabbos. Not saying that they shouldn't learn at all, that they should significantly learn less, but they could learn a little bit less. And in fact, you see that's what happens. The Suda usually goes a little bit longer, the davening's longer. These types of people are learning less on Shabbos. However, the Balabatim, people who are working full-time, as we call it, full-time jobs, they have to buckle down more to learn more. The Magen Avram says regarding the second topic, similar to the Bach, the drasha needs to be primarily halacha, but you could also tie in and should tie in some sort of musr. Gets something to fear Hashem. Not like what people do nowadays. Back to the topic that we just discussed, the third topic about the learning more on Shabbos. We saw the Vilna Gaon cited the Yerushalmi who says Lo nosnu Shabbos yomim tovim ela lachi v'shtiyah. Shabbos was only given for eating and drinking. However, there's another statement in the Yerushalmi that Shabbos is only given Lo nisnu Shabbos yomim tovim ela asik ben b'divrei Torah, to learn Torah. So the Vilna Gaon proceeds to quote a Medrash Tanchumu who says there's no argument. That which you said for eating and drinking, that's going to be more of a focus for the Talmidei Chachamim. But that which you said for the learning, it's created for learning, that's more for the Balabatim, the workers. And that is the conclusion of the Ramah. This perhaps could be a source for the ruling of the Ramah. This ties in with the Bavli and Psachim Samaches. Shul is the time that the Torah was given. Given everyone needs, you have to have some physical enjoyment, as we discussed at length in the past recordings on RabbiBlan.com under the Yamim Tovim section on Shavuos. Why does everyone agree you have to indulge physically on the time when we receive the Torah? That is review. Herach Lechem also said this idea. Workers need to learn more on Shabbos. This is review of everything that we did. Before we start new material, we missed one point. We saw the Prima Gadim in the Ishel of Ram said that the drasha should not be about pilpul, not just a back and forth that has no conclusion. Shari Kines Gedolah says the custom to eat eggs. The Prima Gadim, interestingly, in his Mishmas Osav, which is typically a commentary on the Taz, comments, even though there's no Taz in the Siman, and says that the custom is that the drasha is before Mincha, and you say Halacha. Also, we'll see more about this in the Eliyah Rabbah when we see that inside. But a person should not say that he's going to sleep, or even that he's going to write Torah after Shabbos. You shouldn't prepare for that. Also, the way we talk on Shabbos is different than during the week. Right? So this is everything that we already touched upon on the on Erev Shabbos. This is all review up until this point. Any questions or comments on this?
Yeah. Just scroll back up to the Mogan Avram.
Mogan Avram? Yeah.
Look very good. Circle of the Drasha, right to hit Lahoros La'am. So he's a combination of both.
This is the Bach.
That's
This is the Bach.
But the Bach is more focused on Dinim. No, he's saying
so is he.
What?
So is he.
Yeah, I don't think it's a combination.
Chuki Elokim, Ula Hachnis.
Yiras Shamayim both of them. So it's
you want to say maybe it's a little more even than the Bach. The Bach is more halacha. Perhaps you could learn that way. By the way, we purposely didn't do this first line. We're going to see more about this as we continue learning.
That was a later on.
That's fine. We're going to learn about that as we continue.
And like the Rav said, the Mechaber follows what he said in the Beis Yosef that he's on the Agada side.
Yes, that's I didn't point that out today. Clearly says you could do the Agarta. The Musar, just. Seems like that's the custom. The Shari Tshuva has a few interesting insights. He warns about the potential of a brachal of atala regarding the first topic. You're going to say too many brachas if you got all the food. Shari Tshuva then quotes the Eliyah Rabbah. Okay, we already saw that.
On the Sfardim might put on the Reach part on Shabbos itself.
To do it.
Like to have all these different types of
yeah, okay. So
the summon. I'm just saying.
Okay. So that helps with the brachas.
Helps with the brachas. And is one allowed to make a bracha b'samim before davening?
Yes.
That's not like eating.
No. The Shari Tshuva talks about the quotes the Eliyah Rabbah, and we'll see it inside. The obligation that is upon us to be Machadesh Chedushay Torah on Shabbos. Everyone on Shabbos has to come up with a Torah insight. Like the Zohar says, Zohar is quoted all over the place. Amotzi Shabbos, after Shabbos, our Neshama Yeseda is going to go back to Shamayim. And Hashem is going to ask, what Chiddush did you learn? What Chiddush did you come up with? What Torah insight? So the Machzik Bracha quotes the Das Chacham according to Arizal and says that if you come up with the Torah insight, it's a very special thing. Ma'atrin la'oviv ba'oisa olam. as if you're putting a crown on Hashem's head.
Is this Shabbos or any time?
Specifically, it could be any time, but especially Shabbos. Umishena bar hachi. So let's say you're not that type of person. You say, look, Hashem, I try my hardest, I learn. I don't have the sharpest mind. I usually don't come up with chidushim. I usually just learn more shallow bekiyas. If you can't do this, Yilmod devodim shelo lomar hini. Learn something new, says the Machazik Brachim. Now we still have to cover that subject. What should we be learning on Shabbos? We'll have to come back to that. The Birchei Yosef then quotes the Arizal, who says that the Arizal would sleep 2 or 3 hours on Shabbos. Machazik Bracha says many people go like this Arizal. And he says halavai, as if people would fulfill everything else that the Arizal did. The way that this is explained, and as we will see, this major power nap is that Arizal, when he was able to sleep, was able to tap into very high levels, to the extent that he once said about himself, one Shabbos nap, what I achieve spiritually, I couldn't achieve if I would be giving shiurim for 80 years straight. So we shouldn't think, oh, we're going to go like the Arizal, we're going to be so frum and take a 2-3 hour nap. And then when we nap, we don't achieve even 0.00000000001% of what the Arizal achieved. Okay? So people a lot of times, they learn the Shari Tshuva on the page, even those who learn it, they see this idea with the Arizal, and they say, oh, now I'm going to be very religious and I'm going to nap. That's not what it is. Okay? Shabbos is not about stuffing your face and sleeping your brains out. It's not what it's about. This simon teaches us, this is the heart of what Shabbos is about. There might not be so much halacha, so to say, but the hashkafa, and what this could do to our Shabbos will totally, completely, not even evolve our Shabbos, not transfer, but flip over for us what Shabbos is. Turn over. Totally change, alter for the better what our Shabbos is.
Revamp.
Revise, revamp. Revitalize.
Can't even get 3 hours of sleep in days on Shabbos afternoon unless you do Ashkama.
Yeah. Well, it's going to get later, obviously, in the summer. One other thing with the Chedushim, as we'll see, when a person comes up with an insight, there's an idea of speaking it out. If there's no one there that you could tell it to, just verbalize it anyways. There's an idea to say that. You're going to have to come back to all of this. This is the Shari Tshuva. This is Shari Tshuva. The Lavosh, Rabbi Mordechai Yafel also points out, Mini Reichis Tovos, good smells. Make brachos on good smelling items. Here's the Aliyah Rabbah that everyone quotes. Sleep. You said you sleep. Says the Aliyah Rabbah, Ubilvot shelo yarba bo yosim midai shelo yivienu lebitel or levatel atayra. Don't sleep too much, because that is going to bring to bittul Torah. And even when the way that we explain the Yerushalmi, that the Talmidei Chachamim should be more involved with the physicalities of this day, with the eating and drinking. Eina Peter sheyavalu kol yom b'tanugim, says the Aliyah Rabbah. That doesn't mean the whole day they're involved with eating and drinking. Raki yimshechu yoiser b'tanug mashar yomim. This means they eat and drink more than on a typical day. But not the whole day, they should just be eating and drinking. And then the Aliyah Rabbah segues into this idea that was already quoted by the Shari Tshuva. This is what the Shabbos is about, the obligation to come up with Chiddushei Torah, new Torah insights, like the Zohar says. And he quotes that idea. Deli Rabba and Oz Gimel points out, Iker hakahala lidrosh hu lamei haaretz. Let's be honest, the main point why we're gathering on Shabbos and why the drush is there is for people who don't know how to learn. People who are ignorant.
Nobody said that before.
No, no one. But let's be honest, that's why it's there. We're going to see if there's an idea of a Talmud Chacham going to the drasha at all, where he should just do his own thing because he's going to be learning more in depth.
Well, because it's Elio Rabba.
Yeah. Just in general, yeah. We're going to have to see about that. Deli Rabba tries to address why many times the drasha nowadays has nothing to do with halacha. Ali Rabba in Ois Hey says, Ulay Ata, Kevan sheyesh shvarim la mi haaretz, shechoilim kulam likroi samchu lidrushakol bagada. Since you have svarim in all languages, including English, especially English, let's say the basic halachas of Shabbos. So now the drasha doesn't need to be about halacha because they already have a way to learn the halachas of Shabbos.
When did Elio Rabba live?
A couple hundred years ago.
Because now Achas come.
Yeah, for sure. The problem with this line,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I was thinking of when I was learning this, is yes, they have printed in Sfarm and everything, but there's so much. A lot of people don't read them, but even the people who do, they're not even so simple a lot of times, and it's boring, and people space out, and then they just put it down. They don't continue. As opposed to the drasha, you're there anyway, so
People space out.
people space out and sleep during the drasha also. Yeah, goes both ways. This is Ali Rabba's comment.
Or two.
Well, that obviously is an issue. Sleeping in shul. And then at the end he says you should at least have a little bit of halacha there. So you see there's like different levels. Right. You see there's like different levels. Either you go Beis Yosef, total no halacha. Either you go Bach, primarily halacha. Also Moser. Either you go Magen Avram, it's more like a split. Or now we have like another one kind of in the middle or toward the edge, where Musar, but you also put a little halacha. Let's just do that review again. That was a lot of fun. Either you go Beis Yosef, totally just Musar Agadata. You go Eliyarab, and now we're going up, primarily Musar, a little bit of halacha. Then a little bit higher is the Magen Avram. It's more like a split. Then the Bach,
It's just full blast.
where it's pretty much just halacha. 4 different levels. The Lavosh also paskins that people who are working during the week have to learn more on Shabbos. More than the Talmidei Chachamim. Talmidei Chachamim take a break a little bit, learn a little bit less.
It seems to be talking dafka about people who don't learn at all.
No.
Torah claim Shvua.
Incorrect.
Why?
Pointed out that would be prohibited. Everyone is obligated to be koivei itim l'Torah. But this is referring to they're learning. They're not learning in the same quantitative and qualitative way, however. When it says that means that they're not dedicating that hard learning that they should be doing.
Yeah.
But they're still definitely learning. It's an obligation to do so. Recently, someone called me up. Parshas Vayechi, he was giving a shir on Yisachar Zvulun. Sure, I'm able to help. And we were talking, if you have a Yisachar who's paying and supporting 100 Zvuluns to learn full time, he's very wealthy. Is he obligated to learn? The answer is yes.
But he's obligated to learn.
He's still obligated to learn himself, even if it's considered as if he learned by supporting all those people. He's still obligated. Everyone has to learn. So the idea is that there's an obligation for him to learn. One of my chavrus told me he knows someone Regular working guy, he learns like 8 hours every single Shabbos. He buckles down. He pushes himself.
Married?
Yeah, kids, everything. Pushes himself. He buckles down. You know, let's remind ourselves what we learned in Siman Reish Mem Beis. We learned in Siman Reish Mem Beis that a person should not try to use all of his energy, go into Shabbos very tired, knowing that he's just going to sleep more on the whole Shabbos. That's not what Shabbos is about. Chafetz Chaim says that the learning on Shabbos is 613 times better than the learning during the week. Ben Ish Chai says 1,000 times better. If you do a little math and you multiply that by the Vilna Gaon, who said that every single word of Torah is an independent mitzvah, or perhaps every single letter, you multiply that by 1,000. So you get 1,000 per word. If you could learn 200 words per minute, 200 words per minute times 1,000, you're at 200,000. Do you realize what that is?
A lot of mitzvahs.
In 1 minute, Pashit, you're getting close to 250,000 mitzvahs. If you multiply that by 60 is in an hour. If you're learning an hour without interruption, you just acquired 12 million mitzvahs. Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, which is greater than any other
I
mitzvah.
think the 200 words times 1,000 a minute, according to the Ben Ish Chai.
Yeah, that's right.
And the gross.
The Vilna Gaon says every single word is a positive mitzvah.
Anybody say that every letter is a mitzvah? Or no?
Some say letter, some say letter. Let's assume word. So we're giving you the less.
Don't get fast.
You're getting 12 million if you sit down uninterrupted 1 hour of learning on Shabbos. Okay. I mean, if you go into Shabbos, a lot of times it's hard to learn. Let's say you just learn an hour at night. You push yourself, you learn 1 hour at night. So the next day, you go to an earlier minyan, let's say. So you could easily sit down in the afternoon, 4 hours. Easily, even when the Shabbos is early. You go to a mincha. You go to an earlier minyan. You learn also a little in the morning before you go to shul. It's easy. It's not a difficult thing. Especially at night if you buckle down. Night when the Shabbos starts early.
Find Israeli Shabbos, and as I'm getting older, I just get tired much more quickly. I can't keep my eyes up.
Well, that's why we discussed the idea of taking a pre-Shabbos nap.
Pre-Shabbos nap.
A pre-Shabbos nap, because then you then you could already participate better. Hilchos Shulchan says, why is there a custom to have a lot of food on Shabbos? Other than Oneg Shabbos. Extra food. Number one, Oneg Shabbos. So I bringing pleasure to Shabbos. Number two. By the way, okay, fine, let's finish it first. But number two is that so that you get to the 100 brachos. Now he's addressing a technicality, which we're going to have to come back to more. Even though that the rabbis enacted to listen to the brachos for whoever's getting an aliyah, and that could count, nevertheless, it's better for you personally to make the bracha yourself. But you have to be careful not to have what he calls a brachos chinam or bracha levatela, not to say brachos in vain, as discussed in Siman Reish Tes above. You know, they discuss that a person, we'll see, I'll just share it now, that a person shouldn't overeat on Shabbos. That's why there were 3 sudas that were made. So you won't overeat, because if you're going to overeat, then you're going to get tired. You're not going to be able to learn. They also discuss what's Oneg Shabbos. What is Oneg Shabbos? Translate the words.
Oneg is to delight in Shabbos.
In Shabbos. It doesn't say Oneg Atzmo. What does your soul want?
But a person has a chiyuv of kibbud v'oneg.
He does. He does. What's the point of the food? What's the point of, we're going to see also about sleeping. Who says you need to sleep by napping? You could sleep by going to sleep a little bit earlier than you used to, wake up a little bit later. In fact, that's why a lot of minyanim start later,
Well, that's the Gemara, right? The
right?
Shabbos.
Okay, so yeah, so we're gonna have to come to that. So now, when your neshama goes back in neshama yisera, does your neshama say you're gonna be bragging to Hashem? Look at how much pleasure I got from stuffing my face with an extra piece of meat. No, it's gonna say, look at all the Torah Hakadosh I learned. That's what Shabbos is about. The problem is no one teaches this stuff. No one learns about this stuff. And it's the right way. And we're going to be seeing everything that I just said. I didn't just make that up. We're going to see the sources as we continue going through this. I'm just recapping the vacation, so to say, the trip that I went through. I'm recapping my itinerary, and we're going to go through it. I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to show you each and every single place that I went to and where I'm coming from. Why isn't this taught? Number one, because it's a very small random siman that people aren't learning. Most people aren't learning halacha to begin with. Number two, certain rabbis are going to say this. They're going to say, you're too extreme. I can't handle this. They're going to say, he's an extremist. Let's find a new rabbi. Get him out of there. That's why. That's why people never heard this before. But this is real Torah. This is the reality of what the essence of Shabbos is about. That's the Aruch HaShulchan. Much more. If we could finish all these Kappa Chaims, let me see what I underline here. Looks like I didn't underline anything. Thought I went through this. Anyways, so we still certainly have what to tackle over here, what to discuss. Pretty sure I went through all of this. Surprised I didn't underline anything. He quotes the Zohar word for word over here. Others also do it. Importance of coming up with Chidushei Torah on Shabbos. Guess it wasn't a Chiddush over here. All right, so pick it up from this tomorrow. I can't see this simon taking longer than this whole week to finish. I just can't do it. Even doing it slowly.
A lot of good stuff.
A lot of good stuff, but yeah, you just have Mishnah Berurah. We're gonna have a little bit left. We have to see. I have to make a PDF of the Shulchan Aruch Harav. The mental note.
Big Harfiness comments.
Oh, he does. I learned all of his chuvas. I learned all of his chuvas. He does.
Okay.
He has around 4 chuvas. Nothing so machudash, but he does. He does have his chuvas. We'll see. Okay, everyone have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Welcome to you.
Okay.